Welcome. Today we're having our, I guess that's our spring open member meeting for everyone. We've got a lot of good things on the agenda. But I wanted to share something with the group. I have a fantasy. Now, before you let your imaginations go wild, it is. My personal fantasy is trying to make everybody at the club happy with what we provide and what we do. Now, good luck, right? But I want to make sure that everyone knows here that the board, management, staff, we are really all trying to give you the kind of experience that you're looking for. So our hearts are in the right place. We've got a really big, diverse demographic population, as everybody knows, and it seems like every time we turn around it changes in some way. But our intention over 2023 and at the annual meeting in 2024, providing that strategic plan. It took about a year to create. We couldn't have done it by ourselves. We incorporated lots of your feedback in the strategic plan. And you're going to see today the continuation of that process with our strategic plan and making sure we're trying to do what we showed you in February, a real balance between what you all want and the actual cost to provide that. It's a difficult balance because there's so many people here who have different needs, desires, wants, and cost is definitely going to be something that we continue to look at and get your feedback on. So we're not going to be making decisions without getting that kind of feedback from you. So today, here's our agenda. Edward, everybody knows Edward? Wave over there, Edward. Yay! Edward has promised to speak slowly because when he gets excited, but he's got a lot of really great things to talk about, updates from February to now. Many of the things he's going to talk about, we've all had participated in. Todd Lynch is going to talk about financials. He's got some really good news about the cost of insurance. So, bright spot, right, Todd? Absolutely. Patrick Barano. Patrick, stand up for a second. He's really tall. And he's the reason you are all here, right? Because you want to hear about the beach? Good. All right. So, no pressure. No pressure at all. Patrick's firm, Coastal Science and Engineering, has been working with Seabrook Island for the last 40 years. He's going to give you a little bit of history on the beach, some of the challenges and some of the things we need to be thinking about to make sure that we secure one of our most important assets. And then long-range planning, Tom Johnson and Jimmy Addison is going to share with you the process of hiring a master planner to really take an inventory of all the assets that we have on the island and help us figure out what we're going to do for the next 3 to 5 years. The most exciting part about that whole process is the town and SAPOA are joining with the club to incorporate evaluating all the assets of the island as opposed to just the club's assets. Yay? 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 So Tom Johnson and Jimmy Addison will talk a little bit about the synergies that will help us create, but a really important step in moving forward and trying to figure out what we have and then making strategic decisions about what we do with those assets. So, how does that sound? Okay. Happy hour is at 5 o'clock, so we won't go past, pour something to eat. That'll be running already. All right. So, we're going to do a little fun thing. There's a tool called Slido. Has anybody heard of Slido? So it's a way of audience participating and answering questions, taking a little bit of quizzes. It just makes it a little bit more fun. So there are some board members that are peppered in the audience that can help you because we went through a tutorial already. So take out your phones. If you can get the QR code, which it sounds, what QR stands for? QR. What does QR stand for? Quick response, developed by a Japanese inventor. So if you can't get a picture of the QR code, you can go to slido.com on your browser. Sue Kumar, I know you're doing it right now. I can see you doing it. And put in the number when it asks you for a code, 4082097. the only time you'll be asked to bring your phone to the meeting. All right, South Carolina, Maryland, Ohio. So any guesses why South Carolina is the biggest print up there?
Most votes.
Most votes. Very, very good. Very good. Tennessee. Go Hogs. Is that a state? Very cool. Ohio, New Jersey. All right, so this was not a challenging question for the group. We have a couple more coming up, so that will be a little bit challenged. We've got one where you have to rank something, one where it's a true and false, so we'll be experimenting with this a little bit. All right, so Edward, it's you.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. How is everyone doing this fine afternoon? Well, I promise I won't keep you long. We have a lot to cover, plus the happy hour won't wait forever. First and foremost, thank you. Being appointed as the interim general manager, it's an extraordinary honor. But the weeks of fear and nausea I've endured the thought of giving this speech have even helped me shed a few pounds. It's a win-win situation already. Now as I stand here before you, all I have to do is to take deep breaths, speak slowly, squint at my notes, and convince myself that I'm back in Romania, attending one of those Dracula's conventions. On the positive side, since taking on this role, I received many compliments and lots of support messages, except for a few anonymous comments about many changes. We love you, Edward, but if you don't bring back the grouper bites, we don't care who you are. I have to admit, I'm a little bit nervous and overwhelmed, more like a sense of trepidation, you know. I know it sounds weird knowing that I can organize events for hundreds, and I would say talking to the participants of pop-ups when we run out of oysters. But talking to a large group, it's a different ballgame. Delivering a professional speech to the members is a great responsibility. Or so I thought, until I recalled my first GM speech I ever heard at my first club. I realized I don't remember a word of it, which was a liberating discovery. So I'll proceed without fear of sounding like someone you might have heard in the past. The point is that every time I came up with a topic for this speech, I found a million reasons not to do it, and I went back to the square one. But here I am, and you might wonder why I accepted this role. The short answer is, I cannot afford to be unemployed. The real answer, I believe nothing in life is worthwhile unless you take risks and challenge yourself. And to help you understand me better, I'm going to share two of my most important guiding principles because of time constraints. I have a lot, but I'm just going to mention two of them. I'm sure that at some point in life, it happened to you, and I'm not the only one, who got the friendly advice. Make sure you have something to fall back on. Personally, I've never understood that concept. If I'm going to fall, which I'm not planning on, I don't want to fall back on anything except my face, because at least I can see what I'm about to hit. And here is my first guiding principle: fall forward. Someone once said, I'm not going to mention the name because I don't know how you present to those people. I can give you the names afterwards on request. So someone once said, there is no passion to be found playing small and settling for a life that is less than the one you are capable of living. So fall forward. Reggie Jackson, not our Reggie, a different Reggie, struck out 2,600 times, the most in the baseball history. But guess what? No one remembers his strikeout. People remember only his 563 home runs. Fall forward. Thomas Edison conducted 1,000 failed experiments. Did you know that? I didn't know. I had to Google it and got for internet. Before the 1001st one became the light bulb. Fall forward. To get something you never had, you must do something you never did. Les Brown, the famous motivational speaker, used this analogy. Imagine lying on your deathbed surrounded by the ghost of unfulfilled potentials, ideas never acted on, and talents never used. They are angry and disappointed, and they're saying to you, we came to you because you could have brought us to life. But now we must follow you to the grave. Let me tell you, I'm not planning on having any ghosts around my bed. Second guiding principle, and this is really dear to me, because I was taught by the best teacher ever, my grandmother. Make an impact, not just a good impression. She had some specific Romanian ways to teach me 5 lessons to achieve success. First one, challenge yourself to be the best every day. The second one, if you think you can or you can't do it, you're probably right. Don't judge anyone. Be kind and respectful. And this is a good one. Ensure your servant towel is bigger than your ego. Ego deadens the pain of stupidity. I still remember that one, especially considering the way it was taught to me. If you're going to do a job, do it well. Good enough isn't good enough if you can be better. And better isn't good enough if you can be the best. Rest assured, if I can put a page, I will not turn this place into a circus, unless we're organizing a fun-filled carnival for the entire family. I will run this race with grace and enthusiasm. However, in the spirit of transparency, I have to admit that my dance moves are questionable at best. I'm also proud to report that I've been working hard on the 2 must-have prerequisites for a great general manager: thick skin and a sense of humor. Jokes aside, I'm here because I believe in the power of community and the importance of creating spaces, I'm starting to speak faster, where people can come together, laugh, and enjoy each other's company. As we embark in this journey together, let's remember to work hard, mostly me, play harder, mostly you, and never underestimate the power of a good laugh. And now back to business. No 100 slides, just keeping things light and lively. So let's see what they have here. Well, we got a new cart fleet, and I'm going to sound like I'm about to sell you one of those. We've got 120,000 ones. They have Pace GPS system, they have Golf Logics, a lot of other things, digital scorecard, and Bluetooth connectivity. Amazing. So even if you are one like me, which I'm working on my golf swing, you can watch TV, listen to the music, and do whatever else you want. We hosted a spring fashion show, which benefits my sister's house. We featured a lot of local vendors. I had to read the name. Octavia Mitchell was the host. I was about to say something else. And apparently she's a local anchor, very famous. And the CEO of the company said a few words. It was a great honor for us to host it again. Bistro on the water. I know a lot of you got a chance to try this. It was a new concept added to give the members one more amenity, one more something to enjoy. And we're going to try and find different things. I'm not going to disclose any of the surprises that are going to happen over the summer, but we're going to make sure that this place is going to be filled with fun and lots of happy members and their kids. Easter at the club. That's not me, but I don't know who put that picture there. We are blessed to have a great day. Last year it was raining, this year was absolutely fantastic. So a lot of families join us and enjoy every moment of it. Tennis member tournament. It was the first tournament we hosted 68 players, and they enjoyed the way they played with each other. It was a very nice event to bring members together, to get a chance to network and to know more about each other. Expanded Ocean Terrace. We're trying hard to give members more and more areas they can enjoy. So one of them is to expand the Ocean Terrace. The fence was moved more into the existing area, so now we're adding more umbrellas, we're adding more, how do you call them? Lounge chairs, thank you. I call them sunbeds, but apparently it's not the right term. And another hammock. outdoor kitchen construction. This one is going on schedule and it's about to be ready and is going to give us a chance. Like I know you remember last year what we did on the golf veranda, that we give opportunity to the golfers to order food. That's going to be so much easier. Plus, we're going to bring back the famous pizza oven. Oh, my favorite slide. We got a new horse. So what we're doing at the Equestrian Center, apparently we retire horses. I learn one new thing every day. We retire horses, we're trying hard to replace them. So this is a new horse which was added to the team. I just want to touch on this ladies member guest golf tournament. I've been working in a lot of places where the member guest tournaments in tennis, golf, cards, whatever they are, they're a great opportunity for a club to showcase the existing amenities, the possibilities, and it happens from time to time that you can even get some of the members because they are so impressed with what they have to offer. I would say that ladies member guest was nothing short of that. Lots of enjoyment, lots of coming together, so the members liked it. Again, the food truck made a successful debut. I hope you had a chance to try the smash burgers made by Chef Dan Doyle, who's there in the, I think, we have plans to use it as much as possible. We're going to use it for the club, we're going to use it at tennis center, we're going to use it for the racket club, sorry, my bad, or for the equestrian center. So every time we're going to have an opportunity, you're going to see this truck being used for something. Mother's Day brunch happened a couple of days ago. I won't say anything about the service and the food because that's consistent and I get a lot of compliments. I think the best touch for that one was the make your own bouquet. I don't know if any of you was here for that, and I hope you enjoyed it. That was a great idea, was very successful, so we're going to expand on it moving further. The week, 2 days ago, you're all familiar with this one. So in addition to playing golf, in addition to get a chance to get with your friends and talk about everything, enjoy some nice food and listen to some music, we had a great weather, so we're planning on adding some of those every time we have a chance to do so. Wine dinner at Pelican's Nest. So Chef and I and the rest of the team were trying to find a way to diversify, to offer you something different. And he came up with this idea to why don't we host a wine dinner at Pelican's Nest? And because we like ideas, especially crazy ideas, we decided to go ahead and try it. So this was the second one, it happened last night actually, and it seems to be very well received. Again, anytime we have the possibility to do that, we're going to do it. Who knows? Maybe we're going to rent a barge and we're going to have a wine dinner right in front of the club. Now, I saved the best for last, and if you don't mind watching this short video, short, it's a relative term, and it's going to give you an update on the parking lot at Racket Club. This video is a bit old because the parking lot is absolutely amazing. It's finished and ready for you to utilize. You can always stop by and park your car and see how this works. But I'm telling you, it's absolutely impressive. And I mean, there's no music, I don't want to sing because that's going to be a disaster. And now the focus is on building the pickleball courses, and as you can see, lots of trees around there. It's going to be a great project when everything is done. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, and look forward to seeing you on the club.
Before I get started, I just want to add my personal thanks to Eduard. Since stepping in, it really is drinking from the fire hose with a really different role. He's handled it with grace, energy, professionalism, and collaboration. I couldn't ask for more. So thank you. Financials. Look, the good news is it's Q1 and there aren't any surprises. Okay, so I won't take up a lot of time. These are consolidated results, and you can see by the bottom line here, we're about $200,000 favorable to budget. Yes, it's a loss, but it's the first quarter in our slow season, so this is very normal for us. The $200,000 loss, the club's about $65,000 of a loss, and favorable to what this budget was, and the real estate office is about $135,000 favorable to its budget. It's early for everything, but so nothing really earth-shattering to report there. I'm clicking. Okay, so this is the other changes in assets. I do want to point out the joining fees, and this is kind of a oops, thing as related to how we did the budget. We took the joining fees and we simply spread them over the course of the year evenly. We're a seasonal business as it relates to new member joining fees. So please, when you see these posted on the website, don't get alarmed with that. We are looking at it closely. That we'll know a lot more in the April to August timeframe for what the year is going to look like. But when you see that number being, below expectations, please don't get excited, Jim. And cash is still doing fine. We're at $6.6 million, and our reserves that we're trying to maintain are 5.7.
I got it.
That's right. Okay, have you ever seen a finance person put pie charts up here in these colors? This person didn't either, so give Anna credit for the color. The whole reason this slide is up here is to tell you two things. Total revenues are up, this is just the club. Total revenues are up 13% year over year. That's exactly what we wanted. With the dues increase and also the increased use of the amenities. So that's exactly what we were hoping for. What is interesting right now is we're seeing a shift between where that money's coming from. We're seeing more guest members using amenities than we are rental revenue. Okay, it's early. It's 3 months, and we actually, the rental revenue ticked up a little bit. It's 9% in this. Okay, there it goes.
One button down, Tom. One button down.
That one. Okay, so that's the 9% compared to 16% last year for the rental income or rental revenue. But this number went up to 12% in April, so again, it's early. We're going to keep looking at it. What are we doing with our money? So in the first quarter of this year, we invested $1.6 million in capital improvements. Remember the two big projects. Crooked Oaks renovation, we're now completed with that in the first quarter, so you won't see future expenditures related to Crooked Oaks. You will continue to see more expenditures on the renovations, racket sports renovation. That's going to be about $2 million this year. It is moving very efficiently and quickly, so you're going to see a lot of that come in Q2. Okay, but things are going very well there. Property insurance. Last year, I had 3 or 4 slides talking about property insurance. I don't know if anyone remembers that. I was a little uneasy. This building here that we're in, I think the cost to rebuild was around $23 million. We could only get, no matter what we paid for it, about $5 million of coverage. We have an obligation with our creditor, Bank of America, to fully insure our buildings. We just couldn't do it. And they were very gracious to work with us during that period of time. What a difference a year made. The reason we couldn't do it last year is that so many carriers just left the market. They were seeing these big events come in, and it was a harder situation than what you saw for your residential units. Commercial was much tougher. This year, more carriers came back into the market. We are now back to full replacement coverage, and our premiums are lower than they were last year. So I feel much better, about where we are from an insurance perspective. Again, we have a tremendous broker that works very hard for us each year to try to get the best coverage for us. So very appreciative for that. Insurance always finds something. That's a hot button for the year. This year, the topic was equestrian trail rides. We had a hard time finding coverage for equestrian trail rides, and when that happens, you pay more for it. Okay, so those premiums were up about $150,000 year over year. And that's not a big area amenity-wise, so that's a lot. So we're looking at it, we're trying to see if this is something that's going to be a one-year blip and then it's going to come back to a little more reasonable level, or do we have to change our policies a little bit in terms of how we do trail rides? I don't know the answer yet, but we're trying to figure that out with the equestrian team. Oop, means a meeting. Go with that. Hey. I always want to do this chart, our refundable equity position. Again, a shout out, this was in the 2005 time frame when the club was in this situation. We should all hear, there are so many of us that are new to the club relative to that. We should all continue to thank those people that stepped up and put that equity contribution in. We would not have this club if they didn't do that. But the good news is we're still current and we're still working down those obligations. So as soon as someone resigns from the club for whatever reason, if they're an equity member, they're getting their equity contribution paid back. And that's all I have. Thank you.
All right, get your phones out again, please. It should be the same code number or the same QR code. Anybody need any help? You got it? Yes. Okay, scale of 1 to 5. 5 being the highest. Basically, how important is your beach to you? Everybody had a chance to vote. I can't see how many votes we have. 58 votes? Still loading. Still loading? Okay. Keep voting. Like Chicago, early and often. Loading. 64? Oh, it's on the top here. 7. All right, so it looks like the beach is kind of important. Would that be fair to say? Okay, well, that's really great because Patrick's here to talk a little bit about the history of the beach and what our challenges are. So let's welcome Patrick Barano. There we go.
Thank you very much, Lynn. Thanks all for having me here this afternoon. My name is Patrick Barano. I'm Vice President of Coastal Science and Engineering. Y'all have probably seen us around here before over the years. We've been around for about 40 years. We did the first inlet relocation back in '83, done a few rounds of it since then. So I'm going to go through, like Lynn said, a little bit of the history of the beach, what's happening out there right now, what we can expect in the short term, medium term, long term as best I can. So a couple of place names. Most of y'all are probably aware of a lot of these, but just to review. Running from west to east here, we got Camp St. Christopher over on the end of the island, and the Beach Club Villas around the corner, the Beach Club right here. South Beach is what we call the area between the Beach Club and Boardwalk number 6. Right around Boardwalk number 6, you have what we call Rankin Point, that's named for the family that owned the house that's right there at that corner in the seawall. North Beach is what we consider between Boardwalk 6 all the way up to Oyster Catcher, and then the Captain Sam's Inlet Zone is sort of self-explanatory. So whenever we look broadly at Seabrook Island, it's a funky beach. There's a lot more going on here than just waves and sand. You'll have a lot of inlets, a lot of channels. There's 3 primary drivers of beach width and beach volume on Seabrook Island. Number 1, you have Captain Sam's Inlet off to the north and east. Number 2, you have the North Edisto Inlet Marginal Channel that a lot of y'all would probably refer to as the North Channel, right here by the Beach Club. And number 3, you have DeVoe Bank, which we can see out the window right here. So first, Captain Sam's Inlet. I mentioned the first inlet relocation project back in 1983. There were subsequent inlet relocations in 1995 and 2015. Later on this year, we'll get underway with the initial stages of project planning and permitting for an additional relocation to occur sometime in the next several years. The idea behind relocating this inlet is to maintain a fresh supply of sand down coast from Kiowa Spit around the inlet to Seabrook Island, and 2, prevent the inlet channel from reoccupying its position. Does this have a laser? No, okay. Prevent the channel from reoccupying its position in 1982, which was essentially up against the seawall right there around the 13th and 14th greens, I want to say. Which back in the 80s you could get hit by spray from. That's how unprotected they were. So we want to avoid that condition, certainly. Number 2, you have this marginal channel, is what it's called. It's a marginal flood channel. It's where the falling tide flows out into the ocean. And we see this channel move over time. I'll show you guys some graphics about this. Back in 1990, there was a dredge-based project that some of y'all might have heard about, where that channel was relocated about 1,000 feet seaward of its location at that point. It still remains about halfway from where it was placed in that 1990 project, so that project's still paying some dividends in terms of the storm risk reduction right here along South Beach and the Beach Club. But we have noticed over the last 5 to 10 years in particular a deepening in the channel, and it's starting to kind of creep a little bit closer to the seawall, which is part of the reason why it's harder to maintain the beach right now, right along the South Beach area. Finally, DeVoe Bank. This is a fun one. So we like to think of DeVoe Bank as a permanent feature, and I'm a geologist. I like Todd was talking about dollars in thousands. I think about years in thousands, and DeVoe Bank's not very permanent at all. It's quite transient. It moves. It's a shoal. It takes about 5 years to grow a healthy stand of marsh, so that's all that you need to get all that vegetation out there. It's not old, is what I'm saying. And it's moving. It started moving really rapidly in 2016. We can track this using imagery on Google Earth, actually, believe it or not. From 94 to 2016, it moved less than 100 feet per year horizontally, whether that's offshore, inshore, left, right. From 2016 to now, it's moving at about 500 feet per year. That's why, just a year ago, if you were to look out from here, it would have been, that way, and now it's that way. Next year, it's going to be that way. Because it's attaching to Botany Bay Island. This happened back in the 70s. If you look back at historic aerial imagery from just before Hurricane David in '79, there was no DeVoe Bank. It's gone, right? Whenever that happens, there's nothing to break the storm waves that are approaching towards Seabrook Island. So in addition to having this flood channel right here, a little bit closer, a little bit deeper, making it harder to maintain a dry beach, you've also got higher wave heights coming in out of the south and east, which is where the majority of the wave energy comes onto Seabrook Island. So let's see, can you click the play, please? So this is a great time-lapse image from 1984 through 2022, I believe. There we go. So we can see the feature grow in place from 84 through about the early to mid 90s, and then it sort of remained pretty static. It's hard to see the years on the bottom, but you can sure see whenever it starts to, whoop, right there, right? So that's from 2016 to now. That's the difference between less than 100 feet per year and 500 feet per year. It's very, very visible, and it kind of slaps you in the face when you see it animated like that. Now this is a 40-year time lapse, so that's why I say this is, getting to longer time scales, but it has a very real impact on the beach, on the storm conditions during high water, and on what we can expect to see out of year-to-year beach erosion. And what we have seen in the last couple of years here, let's see, perfect, is a gradual narrowing of the beach. We've seen buildup of sand along Rankin Point and North Beach. We've seen a loss of sand along South Beach and around the Horn here towards Beach Club Villas. We compare aerial images from 2008 to 2024. You can look at Captain Sam's Inlet. They're at relatively similar tide stages, so that the water level is about the same in both. And it stands right out, right? Especially in front of the Beach Club in South Beach. There's a nice dry beach in 2008 that's just not there anymore. In fact, if you look now, you can actually see the old boat ramp at access number 7. That's the first time in a very long time you've been able to see that, right? It's been buried by sand for 30 years. We do see buildups of sand from Rankin Point over towards Captain Sam's Inlet on the east side of that 2024 image, which is why we submitted a permit application on behalf of the POA to recycle sand from that portion of the island, place it over towards the Beach Club. Not all the way, but it'll make its way around once it gets placed. That's currently under appeal. There's ongoing depositions working that out. We're confident that it will come out ahead, and the work should occur sometime later this year, knock on wood. So if we look at beach volumes writ large over the whole island over the last few decades, which is nice. We've been coming here surveying since the 80s, so we can actually line up our survey lines going back 40, 45 years and look at how things change. The beach condition right now, especially from Rankin Point around to the beach club, it's not great. It's narrow, right? The channel is deeper than it's been any time in the last 20 years, especially right in front of the beach club. And as a result, this dark blue line, which shows us the beach volumes from Oyster Catcher all the way around to Camp St. Christopher, you can see starting in the early 90s, we see this initial pulse where the volumes increased above that horizontal black line, which we consider to be the minimum recommended healthy volume to guarantee some dry sand beach, some dune, and in doing so guarantee a pretty good degree of storm risk reduction. And so that initial 1990 the dredge project that relocated that north channel right here, you see an initial sort of bump in the beach volumes, kind of dips, and then starting in 95 with the second relocation of Captain Sam's Inlet, and certainly by 97 when sand recycling began, bringing sand from North Beach around to South Beach, we see steady increases in volume all the way through about 2008. 2008, y'all might remember if you're around here, was about the time that the sand recycling stopped. Right? And since then, we've seen the overall island volumes gradually decline. And this is because as sand bypasses Captain Sam's Inlet, it attaches to North Beach. There's that point there between North Beach and South Beach where the beach is, a quarter mile wide at low tide. But then you're immediately in the North Channel. So the sand makes it up to that point, and then it has trouble getting around the corner onto South Beach. The sand recycling program that was around from 97 to 07 was designed to help mitigate that buildup of sand on North Beach and the lack of sand on South Beach. That's why we submitted the permit application a couple years ago for the sand recycling. It's under appeal. I couldn't tell you why folks saw it in their heart to appeal it, because it just makes perfect sense to me. Over the last 15 years, we've seen this drawdown in volume as a direct result of the cessation of that program, essentially. So we're trying to get it started up. And at the same time, like I said, we're looking at starting up the permitting process this year for the next Captain Sam's Inlet relocation, which will help boost the volumes as well by bringing that channel on the Kiowa side back towards Beachwalker Park. It'll release all the sand that's between the new channel and Seabrook Island, and then that will gradually feed around to the remainder of Seabrook and should help improve the condition a good bit. So this buildup that I'm referring to, you can really see here. In 1994, Rankin Point, you can actually see Rankin Point, that little dark corner on the shoreline, where high water was right up against the seawall. And today you have several hundred feet of low maritime forest, marshy maritime forest between Rankin Point and the actual beach. So if we're talking about comparing what we see today on the beach to the condition in the early 90s, or certainly the 1980s, it's still a lot better, right? The North Channel remains about 500 feet further offshore. Oh, excuse me. Too far. The North Channel remains about 500 feet further offshore than it was in its 1990 position before the initial movement project in 1990 with the dredge. That means that the slope on the beach from the seawall all the way down to the center of that channel is about 2 to 3 times less steep now than it was in 1990. That's a good thing. That means that the wave energy coming across during high tide gets attenuated faster, helps protect the structure. That's good. The beach width itself is about where it was in the 1990s, right? So it's a mixed bag of conclusions here with the beach condition, particularly on South Beach. The beach width isn't great, but the channel remains further offshore. So generally speaking, structurally, things are okay. And we've got this recycling project, the next inlet relocation project in the works to try to mitigate some of this ongoing lack of sand along the dry beach. So I think that's all my time. I will yield to the next person. I'm sure we'll have some questions at some time.
All right, next slide, a question. What percentage of owners rented before they bought on Seabrook? And this is a current number from Lindsay Arnold put this together. Choices are 24, 56, 11, or 73. Oh, that's true. I shouldn't have put that out there because now everybody wants to be right. Yeah, that 24% is increasing as we speak, right? So 24% of the folks who own on Seabrook Island now rented properties before they bought. Were you surprised at that number? What did you thought it'd be higher? Yeah, I thought it'd be higher, 40% or so. Yeah, most people did. In the past, I've heard a higher number. So maybe there's something changing about our demographic that people who are on the island now purchasing properties haven't rented it before. So, all right. Long Range Planning, Tom Johnson and Jimmy Addison. Daring duo. Big button.
So good afternoon. We'll keep it pretty brief and certainly can address questions. So I'll kind of kick it off. A lot of other folks involved in this, both from the club and from SEPOA. I see Dave Brown here from SEPOA. So you'll hear more about how we're working together as well as with the town. So we're really excited. This is a coordinated plan, so we're not trying to merge entities. We're really trying to work together to have one view of our amenities on the island and concepts and ideas where we can go. So let's jump in. So step one was back in 23. We worked as the club to produce a strategic plan. It's 6 to 8 months of work with a company called GGA. They're a professional firm that focuses on strategies for clubs. And they did focus groups. How many people participated in the focus groups? I see a few hands. And then we also conducted a survey. We had about 1,000 responses in the survey.
1,733.
I'm correct, 1,700. But again, how many people responded to that survey? So those are two important documents that we'll use in the master plan. Meanwhile, over at SEPOA, I think last week, Dave, we produced a survey for SEPOA. It's due the
24th of May.
24th of May, please. So check your mailbox. If you haven't responded, we'd like to have the survey from the SEPOA members, property owners, and have both of those data sets available to the master planning exercise, okay? So the other thing that went on as part of the strategic plan was quite a bit of research by GGA. There's about 7 documents that were produced. But they give us a lot of information about what other clubs are doing, what our club's doing, what's the marketplace look like, and where we should go. So this strategic plan that came out February 24 was shared with the members, really tells us where we want to go, what's that balance between cost to serve and new amenities, in providing what you want, and what are the goals and actions we need to take against those goals to get there. So I think over the last 6 to 12 months, the committees are now picking up these goals and these actions, and they're now executing on the strategic plan. Inside the strategic plan, there was one group that focused on facilities, and the number one goal for that facilities group was to develop a master plan. And a master plan really provides a roadmap of concepts of where we can invest and improve the amenities you want. And what's interesting about this master plan, it won't just be the club's amenities, it will be SEPOA's amenities, as well as participation from the town. And this really hasn't been done, as I look back at it, since 2005, 2006. So we're kind of overdue. So I think the energy's there, the motivation's there, we have all the tools ready, and now our next step is to start to look at some outside firms. So what are these firms going to do if we bring them in? There's really 4 steps: discovery, concepts and iterations of concepts, some high-level cost estimates, and then a really deep discussion with members, property owners, and residents. Discovery is really looking at what we have today. What I find interesting when we talk to these outside firms that we're interviewing is they really look at what amenities do we want, and then they look at facilities to support those amenities, which I think makes a lot of sense. What do we want, and then let's figure out what we need to support that. So it's not, here's a facility we could have, what are we going to do with it? It's just the opposite. What do you as members and property owners want, and then they'll help us figure out what facilities we have and if there's any incremental improvements. The concept iterations, I think, will be very impressive. They're done digitally, and we hope to have not one option, but multiple options for any of the concepts in public review. So engagement all along the way with these architects and engineers showing us what's possible. High-level cost estimates so we know what we can afford, and then a discussion in a deep dive, not only with the members of the club, but the property owners as well. So you can certainly come up with questions this afternoon, and we'll show you more of this as we get into the RFP process. So my last slide, I'll just jump through these and talk about them. So when we started talking, and I am a SAPOA board member, and I'm also on the long-range plan of the club, so we started thinking of this, I use the term synergy, but what's the opportunity to work together and coordinate a plan? What are some areas where we could find maybe some out-of-the-box thinking in doing things differently for the, for the benefit of the stakeholders, either you as a property owner, you as a club member. So looking at natural spaces better, looking at them differently, looking at event and meeting space. We have this space, we have one space up at the lake house, and then after that, it gets pretty small, pretty quick. Recreational spaces, what can we do differently with the recreational spaces? Who should manage the recreational spaces? Pools. The club has the main beach club pool, SAPOA has 2 pools. Actually 3 if you count the indoor pool. Maintenance spaces, how many people have been up to the club's maintenance area? You're brave, unless you have a boat. Some people have bees. But that's a big space in what's possible up there. And SAPOA also has a little bit of a maintenance footprint up there, but we also share a maintenance space. And then back to the town, the town's looking to build some maintenance space. So what can we do together to get more bang for our buck? And then office space. Right now, each group has their own office space. Guess what? They're all constrained. Is there an opportunity to look at office space differently? So those are the synergy opportunities. If you think of more, reach out to Jimmy or I. You'll soon see the 3 executive sponsors behind the master planning. I see John Lasser here. John's the sponsor from SAPOA. John Carpenter's the sponsor from the club, and then Raymond Hamilton will be the sponsor from the town. So you'll see more on this, but I am very encouraged by the cooperation of the 3 governments and now stepping forward to start looking at the 4 firms we're looking at. So Jimmy, why don't you come up and explain a little bit about the RFP process and how this is going to play out, maybe the timeline. Thank you.
So just want to publicly thank Tom. He has done a tremendous amount of work for this club. He's done a huge amount for the POA, being on the board there. But if you knew how much he had done behind the scenes to prepare a very, very detailed RFP for all 3 entities, heading a technology committee to look at what we do in technology, which I'm sure you'll hear more about in future meetings. It's incredible. I call him a pack mule. He'll just take on anything and carry it up any hills. I just want a good-looking pack mule. And Edward, I share some anxiety being here today. I spent most of my career doing what Todd did today, showing slides with numbers in them, whether it's presenting to employees or a board or the street. And here I am talking about master planning. But Lynn asked me about a year and a half ago to consider this, and I thought back to the first time I walked on this island in 1984. I was a native South Carolinian, but I'd gone to work in Charlotte for Deloitte, and they came in and asked for someone to come down here and spend a month working with the POA and the regimes. And most of these Duke and Chapel Hill grads kind of looked at their shoes and went to Seabrook Island, and I raised my hand. I said, I'll go. And so I came down here, and then I reflected on that when Lynn asked me about this, and I said, the incredible change this island's undergone in that 40 years is just stunning. And if I can have any small part in helping be a part of what someone says 40 years from now, then sign me up for that. So Lynn asked Tom and I about a year ago now, as part of the long-range planning committee, to kind of splinter off from that and work in parallel, kind of pre-screening potential architects, master planners, so that we didn't have to wait until we finished a plan to begin that stage. We did that. Tom nor I surfaced any of the names, but GGA, our consultant, along with some other committee members, had names that we pre-screened. We reviewed their credentials, their portfolios, which are all well presented on their websites. We held virtual sessions with each of them, and now All 4 of those that we talked to have been on the island to learn more about the island on their own dime so that they can present a better response to our request for proposal. There was actually a 5th firm that we talked to that was surfaced along the way from someone through the POA, and we really mutually opted out because this really isn't their thing. They do more greenfield work from the start, like Keel River. They did that project. But these 4 we focused on. I'm very confident that any of these 4 can build the buildings if we elect to build something that fits the Seabrook style. I think you'll like it. I don't think you'll feel like it's from some other world or something of that nature. But it's going to be based upon what we tell them as members. We've told each of them, we don't know what we want you to do. We want you to run a process to see what our members want to do. Because it's not clear that there's one certain thing to go build. All of these firms can do it. We sent the RFP to them almost a couple of weeks ago now. It's due a week from today. We've not publicized the firms' names in any of the club communications materials because we prefer them not know who they're competing against so that we get their best proposal, put their best foot forward, especially as it comes to pricing. And so come next Friday, we'll have their responses, and we've got a cross-functional team among all 3 entities, the club, SAPOA, and the town, that will evaluate those responses. And our plan is to get down to a couple finalists to put in front of all 3 boards or town council and let them make the final decision for those couple of finalists as to who's best to run that process. So Lynn, that's what I plan to present. and
Jenny, that
turn it
was
back to
very
you.
helpful. Good, thank you very much. What entity oversees the creation and maintenance of the bike path behind the Seabrook Island Gate? Do you know this? Educated guess.
I don't know.
Some of you afraid to answer the question? I'm at 61. Okay, I'm going to give you the right answer. Oh, good. Well done, SAPOA. So who manages the bike paths outside the gate? Town. Well done. You guys are the ones that know the answers to this. So, was that fun to do, Slido? Or should we not bother doing that again? More harder questions? Surprises, okay. I don't know that this is the right answer, but what was the original name of Seabrook Island? And George, you're going to probably correct me. The original name of Seabrook Island?
Jones.
I don't think so. I was told it was Simmons Island, but George, what did you say?
There's 2 different names, and I can't remember the other one.
But
I don't
Simmons
think
was.
anybody knows for sure.
Okay, it'll be a mystery. It'll be the surprise question the next time we do it. All right. So, questions. Anybody have any questions? See, we did this at like 3 minutes to 5, right? Tick tock, tick tock. Okay, well, Connie, come up with the microphone so everybody can hear you.
I wanted to ask the gentleman,
Patrick?
scientist, yes.
Whatever.
Not the packet.
Will the vote bank
Not the packet.
disappear?
Yes and no. So because it's a cyclical feature with these large mixed, and we call them mixed energy inlets. And so what happened the last time it disappeared around Hurricane David is it attached to Botany Bay. It wreaked all kind of havoc over there, which is fortunate because there's not a lot to wreak havoc on. And then there was another shoal that came up behind it that we now know as DeVoe Bank.
Can you add sand to it?
That's a very good question. We would love nothing more because it's really easy to build habitat for different species. They like different water levels and moisture content. So if you put the sand at the right elevation, it'll be the perfect habitat. So we're exploring that option currently, but it's still in the very initial phases. There's a NIFWF, National some Fish and Wildlife Foundation grant application that's currently out through the State Office of Resilience to look into the options, a feasibility assessment of that.
It's not inexpensive. Is that correct?
No, it'll involve some logistical challenges.
Thank you.
Same person.
Oh, good. He was going to be popular. I knew.
At the last meeting we were given the opportunity to look at an evaluation done by perhaps your company at the seawall.
Yes.
And there was an indication that our seawall could be made more robust.
Yes.
And I'm wondering if the club or any other entities are taking that under consideration.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
You want-
Yeah. No. You're the
Yeah, so on multiple fronts. We were initially contacted, that was us, yes, by the club to raise the elevation of the crest back to its pre-1989, which is the Beachfront Management Act condition, which would bring it up to an elevation of plus 13 in ABD, which is about 4 feet higher than its current elevation. We got permission for that back in March. They unfortunately, well, not unfortunately, it's just part of the law. They restricted the construction window to the non-turtle nesting season, so we only had about 6 weeks to turn around. Bids came in too high. Long story short, POA is also sponsoring a maintenance and repair request that's currently submitted to the state to run repairs along the entire structure to cover up any exposed riprap, smaller rock, to increase the elevation right along the beach club, to repair some of the overtopping around by Pelican Watch. And that's in the works as well for later this year.
Thank you very much.
Sure, yes.
I will stay there, Pat.
Okay.
Not sure.
Hi, my husband and I have been coming down here since the mid-'70s, and there has been an enormous amount of change, obviously. Is there a map somewhere that shows the land that is owned by the club, the land that is owned by the Property Owners Association, and the land that is owned by the town?
I'd love to have it.
Yeah, good question.
I'm really not sure, but we know where to look, and we're actually working with the town on updating their beachfront management plan this year, because that's due. And I'm sure as part of that process, we'll come across it one way or the other. I share the same curiosity.
George?
We have, between the club and Sapoa, there's what's called a quitclaim deed that has the diagrams of all the properties that was quitclaimed from the club through Sapoa at the time of the purchase of the club. So that's a
something-
document we have.
Is that something that's easy to get our hands on?
It's hard to read.
It's hard to read, but we can get our hands on it.
We
Okay.
have it.
Yeah, okay.
That's great.
I think I threw this question at you the other day.
Uh-oh.
We redid the tennis courts landscaping at a good cost, and now we're redoing the work, and it's all torn up. Who's going to pay for that? Are we going to pay for that again, or the construction folks who have torn up the whole area? It's gone. I yield.
I don't have the answer to that question, but I can get that answer for you. The Rec and Sports Committee has been working with Monteith, the construction folks. I just don't have the answer right at my fingertips, but I'm happy to.
Remember, we spent a lot of money over there
Yep.
to enhance the whole area.
Agreed.
And now we've got a maintenance building that's pretty big, and I can't understand why it's as big as it is on there. So I yield.
Okay, I will get the answer to you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Anything else? How are you?
I've only been on the island for about 18 months now, and Edward mentioned a sense of community, and so I have a comment to make on that. You know, companies and charities fight for volunteers all over the place. The option to volunteer for something went out. I'm a data guy. I don't know what the response rate was. I know 8 people that all put in their names. Nobody's been contacted back.
Do you remember what committee you put your name in for? I'm just
I was the only one of all the people I know that actually was contacted back and then subsequently ignored. It's poor form, it's disrespectful, and it has no sense of community. You guys have to do better on that. So my question is, will you do better?
So I can give you and I'm sorry that you had that experience. How the committees worked, we asked for volunteers and many of you signed up for one of three choices, right? First, second, third. And so what the committee chairs did, or what we committed to do, was to call everybody who submitted their name as a first choice. In some of the committees, we had, I would say 100 people volunteer, but it was a substantial number. So we agreed we'd make outreach calls to people who suggest who pick priority one for, let's just say membership committee for a moment. And that committee chair would interview everybody with their name in as a first priority and then respond back to them whether they were added to the list, added to the group or not. So that's the process. I'm not sure where it fell apart for you, but I'll make sure to go back to all the committee chairs and make sure I reinforce that that has to happen. We want people to volunteer. We don't want people to be discouraged. We want you to know whether you've been asked to participate or not. I just have seen that everybody's busy, right? And so if you're willing to put your name into the hat to be a volunteer, I think it's really important that we fulfill our part of the bargain and make sure that we get back to you. So thank you for that feedback.
So you'll do better.
We will do better.
That's my question.
We will do better. Short answer is yes. Sure.
Just to follow up on that, I'm only here part-time. I did sign up. I was contacted, but really the opportunity wasn't available because of technology. And I know we're working on technology, but I feel like non-residents, I don't know what the percentage is, but non-residents represent a large percentage of club members, and I do feel like we should be given a bigger voice on things, and I think we should use technology for meetings. I mean, during COVID, the whole world figured out how to work from home, have meetings, not be in an office, and while there can be benefits of face-to-face, I do think that Zoom works. So I feel like that non-residents should be able to serve, and that all the meetings should be on Zoom as well as face-to-face. If some people want to be at the meeting, fine, but have call Zoom available also where people can come. And a little bit onto that, just one other point. And this goes broader than this, but it has to do with, maybe technology and information flowing. I feel, and I put this on the survey, I feel like our club does not provide enough communication information forward. And I put this on every survey, sent it to Mitchell 1 million times.
So when you say put it forward,
just like what's going on at the club. For example, let's say that we wanted to come in person. Well, the meetings that are going to be in November of 2024 aren't on a calendar that I see. I feel like we should have a full year, whether we want to do calendar year or school year, and then if you had a requirement to come be a participant on a committee, well then we can make arrangements to come because we know when the meetings are going to be. But so I've kind of got two comments going on, but I think it should be a high priority for our club to operate like other clubs and have a lot of information in the future out there on a calendar when things are open, when they're closed, when there's meetings, everything that we're doing. I don't think we should run so short-sighted. But anyway, so
it's helpful information, and I will say, where's Tom Johnson? Where'd you go? He is working on a technology program, so which is, it's a lot of stuff. There's technology in everything that we do, and one of the bits of feedback that we've gotten is you send us too much, you don't send us enough. So we're trying to strike the balance of making sure you can get access to information that's important to you. Not if you're not interested in racket sports, why should you get a lot of racket sports information? So we're working on a technology, and I I don't remember the 3 names of the firms that we're talking to, but customizing that information so that you get information that's important to you as opposed to getting everything, which becomes overwhelming, particularly for people who don't live here full time. So we're about the process to make sure that we're doing that.
I think technology could help in a lot of things, but I do think, we should know now what our calendar is, at least for the rest of this year, and it should be open to the members to see all of our activities, events, meetings, everything.
Okay, thank you very much for that feedback. It's helpful. Anything else, gang? All right, so 2 little announcements. I guess a little. July 3rd, Todd Lynch is going to do a finance, what did we call it last time, like an information session?
Yeah, something like that.
Now, for those of you who, so that happened, was it last year that we did it?
October of 2022, if you can probably hear me. If you have a decent level of financial background, don't worry about what we did in 2022. You'll be fine. Come to the meeting. If you're really a novice at being able to understand what an income statement is or what something else is, please look at the meeting in 2022 because we're going to kick it up a notch in terms of the complexity of the data. And I want them both to be useful for you.
The second is on June 26th. I think we're going to do it in the DeVoe room. We are very eager to get people to volunteer to run for the board. And a lot of people have misconceptions about, is it a 40-hour work week? Is it an 80-hour work week? It's neither one of those. But I think it would be helpful for those people who are interested to come to this information center. We'll have our board members there. We can answer questions about kind of our time commitment and what are the things that we do. So that would be June 26th. It would be around cocktail hour. I think we'll try to get people there with a cocktail. So please join us then. Thanks for taking time out of your Friday afternoon. We'll see you upstairs for cocktails.